Good morning, East Leyden, and welcome back. I'm Frank Klein.
And I'm Madison Rivera. We hope you guys enjoyed your snow day last week and are glad you're all back at school to see another great Eagle Update video.
In this week's Leyden Eagle Update, we'll be covering the nationwide excitement for a Super Bowl game of a lifetime between Joe Shiesty and Matt Stafford.
In addition, we'll be covering Miss Reed's artwork being featured in one of Chicago's most famous attractions, the Museum of Science and Industry.
We'll also be covering the vaccine mandate that is causing mass controversy among the unvaccinated community and upsetting some vaccinated individuals.
And finally, have you experienced a class where your teacher was absent and there was no substitute teacher to cover the class? We'll be showing how the lack of substitute teachers is affecting Leyden.
East Leyden, your Eagle Update starts
Right now.
Before the pandemic, the SAT was a huge deal for high school students, yet many colleges were considering going test optional for a better view of how a student is as a person, not how a student performed on one test. The pandemic gave many colleges the push they needed to go test optional. Last year, 72% of schools went test optional, and this year is at 75%.
I think the SAT is one measure of success according to the College Board, and across the nation it's used for college acceptance. Fortunately, we're moving, a lot of institutions are moving towards test optional.
Many students have mixed feelings about taking and using the SAT because it doesn't show their true potential and how they perform as a student.
I'd say it's not a good representation of students' academic performance because there's a lot of aspects of their academics that are not considered in the tests.
I feel like some people get stressed out and not really show how much they can learn. So I guess, yeah.
The option to include a test score benefits both parties. College admissions are down, so schools desperately need students, whereas students who viewed college unlikely realize it is a more accessible option. Recent change with usage of SAT and ACT scores has led many students to shift their focus to other valuable pieces of the college application.
When I was taking my SAT prep class, it wasn't it was still junior year, so I still had there was still a decent amount of time before I even had to take my SAT, but I could have been doing other things.
Because I know my freshman year I didn't do that good, so I wonder if they're gonna look at that and be like, oh, maybe she's not qualified. But besides from that, just my transcript, if they'll think highly or badly of my grades.
As colleges have lessened standardized testing, the importance of extracurriculars, volunteerism, and leadership has exponentially increased. This means current freshmen, sophomores, and even juniors need to get involved now and start building their resumes.
The beginning of February brings the celebration of Black History Month, which honors and commemorates the triumphs and struggles of African Americans throughout U.S. history. The Museum of Science and Industry is currently holding its annual Black Creativity Juried Art Exhibition, where a familiar face from Leyden has their art being displayed.
Miss Reed has been the art department chair here at Leyden since 2016, and over the years she has taught drawing, painting, video, and photography. Her digital and photo-based collages and drawings have been exhibited in galleries in Chicago and art shows across the United States. However, this isn't the beginning of her art journey.
My mom was an artist, and so she would draw us pictures while telling us bedtime stories. And then I have two sisters, and we used to have these drawing competitions, and we would bring them to my mom and say, which one's the best? And she would say, well, they're all perfect and they're all great. And to this day, we are still angry about it because we just wanted to know who was the best. So I've just been making art my entire life.
The process of making art differs for each person, and for Miss Reed, the entire process was split. The ideas of her pieces started early on and took a considerable amount of time to formulate, but the creation took much less. Art has always been something Miss Reed has enjoyed since she was a child, therefore wouldn't know what to do without art, as she feels it is a stress reliever and almost the basis of her life.
I would make art even if I was an art teacher. I would make art. I know it's something that I just do. I love it. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of how I think and express myself. I think in pictures before I think in words or ideas. And if I'm trying to explain something to somebody else or a student, I always have to have a sheet of paper because I'm let me just draw you a picture. So it's just a huge part of me. So I make it because it's who I am.
The Museum of Science and Industry's annual Black Creativity Program invites everyone to explore the legacy of various contributions and achievements made to society by African Americans while encouraging deeper interest in science and technology among the youth. Work is submitted in the fall, and a panel of jurors selects the pieces for the exhibition, of which Miss Reed got two of her pieces on display.
The first piece that got in was a piece I started 3 years ago, and it was just a piece on identity and having to choose and like check the box of who you are. So I think a lot of people can relate to having to do a standardized test. You have to fill in all these bubbles of like who you are, and this bubble determines so many choices in life. And then the second piece was a lot of my work deals with technology and the choices that we have and the choices that we make in relation to technology. And there's this thing called a feedback loop that's in tech. And so you make a choice, like there's a program, there's an algorithm that wants you to do something. Within that program, you make a choice. It gives information back to the system, and the system will change itself to get you to go in the order it's expected you to do. So it's kind of like a feedback loop of, I make a choice, it has a result, it changes its result, so that I make a choice again closer to the result that it wants me to make. So those are the two big things that my work is dealing with, both identity and the choices that we make.
The meaning behind my work in the museum is, as she stated, our relationship with technology. Technology is so pervasive. My work is really looking at the choices we make in relation to technology. How much does technology infiltrate our lives? How much does it help our lives? And being aware of those and making a choice. After a long time of being an artist, having her own work displayed in a metropolitan museum has left Miss Reed with a dreamlike feeling.
Art takes a great influence on society as it can change opinions and allow people from diverse backgrounds to communicate with each other without words. With all of her hard work and dedication towards her art, Miss Reed takes pride in being able to represent her work in the Museum of Science and Industry. This is Ariana Sosa, Leyden Journalism.
Schools around the nation have been struggling to both find and hire substitute teachers due to COVID-19. The pandemic has caused excessive absences from both students and faculty alike. Due to the lack of subs, full-time teachers have been forced to sub for the other classes in the building.
That has been rough, especially now that we have advisory. So on days where you have your 5 classes and then advisory and then get asked to sub, that's 7 class periods in a day. Yeah, it's just been a little challenging, and especially I've been fortunate enough not to have to be out for an extended period of time, but if that were to happen, you know, it's a little bit scary to think that you'd have to be gone for so long and have to prep for so much to make sure that students don't miss too much.
COVID reasons, like there's definitely a setback on how many substitute teachers we could get this year. Mm-hmm. So that might be like one reason the school is using like different like regular staff teachers here for different classes. So yeah. Mm-hmm. If we usually have a long time sub, the sub usually gets like a week plan or something on what to do during that week since the teacher is gone. But it kind of does set you back because the teacher had its own like groove and path with the students, and now this new teacher coming in might disrupt that path. But yeah, so it's a bit of a setback.
Especially if it ends up being an extended period of time. Yes, students are pretty resilient, and they, teachers set up a routine so they know what to expect when they come into the classroom and, how to access everything, especially since we have so much digital now. But of course, a teacher has worked hard to build relationships with those students every single day. So they have a little bit more of an ability to kind of really reach the students and connect with them on a day-to-day basis. And of course, if there's late work or missing work or catching up another student, if that teacher's not there, it just makes it a little bit more challenging. Okay.
Many substitute teachers are in the age range where COVID-19 affects them the most. In addition to that, substitute teaching is commonly a low-paying job and rarely has any benefits, including health insurance. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median hour wage for short-term substitute teaching is $14.12. With all these factors combined, it makes it even more difficult to hire subs.
Make subs feel confident that we're doing the best we can to stay protected, wearing masks. They know they go into the building that policies will be reinforced, masks are supplied to students. They might be more willing to come into our building, and also, possibly paying them more if they, saw an incentive to come into our building and risk a little bit more, then maybe they'd be more willing. I'm not sure.
I think it can be scary. We're still in the, hopefully this, Pritzker says the peak, it's peaking now, but who knows? And I think there's just a lot of uncertainty being in a big room with a lot of people, and it's a lot of responsibility to try and take care of yourself, and especially if you have a vulnerable family member. This is a job where if someone's sick, you're going to be around them and not know it. And I think that's scary for a lot of people. And then also, I think it's just, it's not an easy job. And I think there's a lot of folks that are intimidated and, just, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's like a really great job. I love doing it, but
Overall, the lack of substitute teachers has had a massive impact on Leyden and many other schools across the country. Not only does it put stress on school staff to manage a teacher's absence, but it also interferes with the education of students. As COVID nears its 2-year anniversary and other blockades build up, it is unclear how much longer the situation will persist. This is Johnny and Madison signing off.
To help stop the spread of COVID-19 and the emerging variants, the City of Chicago and many Illinois suburbs have issued a public safety order to show proof of vaccination starting January 3rd. This mandate involves restrictions to dine indoors, visit gyms, or enjoy entertainment venues where food or drinks are served. Things started to get a little complicated as a result of the safety precautions preventing teams from living their best life. Many teams are having never-before-seen issues when it comes time to grab a bite to eat with friends or even going to a commercial gym.
So I go to the gym like almost every day, and the gym I used to go to was export and they require the vaccine. So I had to switch over to like a private gym where the owner is not so strict.
Hanging out with my friends or coworkers, being able to go out, you need vaccination cards, and I do have a vaccination card, but it's not fully filled out.
I remember attending the gym and they'd ask for proof of vaccination, and luckily for me I already had it done, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I know that some of my friends had a problem with getting vaccinated because it was their opinion to not get vaccinated. So I feel I don't know, the mandate just made everything harder.
In addition to teens having new restrictions on where to spend their free time, many teens have encountered new challenges in their workplace. In many cases, getting the vaccine wasn't even a thought for many teens. But as a result of the latest mandates, many had no option.
Yes, I am partially vaccinated. I just recently got it. At the beginning, I first thought I couldn't get the vaccine because I am allergic to penicillin, but after asking pharmacists, they said that I could get it, and I recently got it about a week and a half ago.
I didn't intend on getting vaccinated, but working at Starbucks, they have a new mandate at the beginning of the year, actually on the 6th of January, I believe, where if you weren't vaccinated, you have to bring in a negative COVID test every Monday. I don't finish my second one until the 24th, so up until then, I still have to get my negative test every week, just so I can clock in for that week.
While the social life of many teams seems to be taking the biggest blow out of all age groups, many teams are still trying to find new and creative ways to avoid the latest restrictions put in place as a response to the surge of COVID-19 cases.
Coming into this year, the Bengals really had no expectations. Second-year quarterback Joe Burrow was coming off a torn ACL and had a disastrous season last year. The Bengals as a whole last year were just not well. They finished 4-11-1 and last in their division. So coming into this year, they really had no big expectations and very far away from the playoffs. But this year they became a really fun team, not just with Joe Burrow. They had Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and CJ Uzomah. And now heading into the Super Bowl against the Rams, they're still underdogs. The Rams, led by quarterback Matthew Stafford, who just escaped Detroit, Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, just to name a few guys. And then they're the monsters in the NFL.
Personally, I believe Matthew Stafford would have a better story for winning his first Super Bowl, since he spent all those years in Detroit and they didn't make the playoffs for so long. And basically he spent so many years just not being on a good team. So Cooper Kupp has a really bright future. He's a really good receiver, and I feel he has a lot of good talent. Also want to I guess Matthew Stafford saw the end of his career, but I also want to see him win a Super Bowl. Personally, I feel the Chiefs blew it because they did. They were up, I think, I don't know, maybe 21 points, and I feel the Chiefs team that they had is a better team than the Bengals based off their secondary. I feel the Bengals secondary doesn't really have any good players.
Definitely Matthew Stafford. He's been in the league for a long time. He's been on the Lions since the start of his career, since he got drafted. Burrow's only been in the league for about 2 years now. So I think it's a lot better for Stafford just to get his first ring over Burrow.
Joe Burrow, absolutely. I've become just a big fan of watching Joe Burrow over this past year. I think the torch is being handed over to some of these young guys now, so it'll be fun to watch Joe Burrow win. As people are saying, the NFL is in good hands with the young quarterbacks right now. So between Herbert, Burrow, Mahomes, some of these other young guys, it's going to be it'll be a fun future for the league. So.
That's all the news we have for you today. Remember to check your email to see the daily announcements in the East Bulletin, where you can catch up with other Leyden events and activities.
We really appreciate you guys for tuning in and can't wait to see you again next week in our next Eagle Update video. This is Madison Rivera
and Frank Klein
signing off.